G'day viewers, my name's Graham Stevenson and I'd like to invite you to come on a journey of creativity and learning and adventure through the series Colour in Your Life. There's an artist in every family throughout the world, and lots of times there's an artist deep down inside all of us as well. So grab your kids, your brothers, your sisters, your aunties, uncles and mums and dads and come and see how some of the best artists in Australia do what they do. Lovely area, just beautiful.
Yeah, it's lovely up here in the trees, isn't it?
The entrance to the studio.
Yeah, this is it.
Viewers, I'd like to introduce you to Maria Paterson. Maria is without a doubt an exceptional pastel artist, and we're going to be spending the day with her today going through some of the various techniques that you actually use in your teaching, but also in her work as an incredible artist. But beautiful place you've got here too. I mean, the surroundings are just glorious, aren't they?
I love it. Yeah, we're up in amongst the trees and all the birds. And
very, very inspirational.
It's very
it really
peaceful.
is. Oh, just beautiful. Let's go on and start the day
come
then.
on in.
Come on in, guys. Okay, viewers. Well, here we are in the studio of Maria at the moment, and we're going to go through and do a couple of exercises today. Maria's actually a teacher. She's actually got a graduate diploma in education, don't you?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
And also a Bachelor of Visual Arts.
Visual Arts BA, yeah.
Pretty cool. So we've got a pretty smart girl here at the same time. So, but tell me a little bit more about your career. What's been your motivation as far as, say, working with the pastels, and how long have you been doing this for?
Oh, pastels I've had since I was 9 years old.
Okay.
Actually, that box I got when I was 9 years old.
We were just
my
looking,
dad.
yeah.
Yeah, it's very old. In the
Yeah.
1930s, that box.
It's amazing.
So I've always drawn. I've always known I wanted to be an artist, you know, since a young girl. So I went to TAFE when I was young. You know, I'd work and then I'd go at night as a teenager. And it wasn't until I moved up here that I took it up full time.
Mm-hmm.
And from then on, I've just been creating paintings and pastels and sculptures.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot, and we'll obviously screen a lot of Maria's work in as we go along, but you've obviously been involved in a lot of shows as well. I mean, your CV is quite extensive. You've been very busy, and obviously as a teacher as well.
Yeah.
You know, in passing on the wonderful legacy of the education of art, Maria is part of that. Students,
I love doing that. It's really inspiring teaching people, you know, because everyone has a way of working that, and you just basically providing the tools and the inspiration and ways and means of doing that. So, yeah, I love doing that.
So what inspires you most of all? I mean, the thing that I loved when I first saw Maria's work was her still lifes in pastel. I mean, some of them just wonderful pieces of work. What really inspires you with your work most of all?
I'd have to say nature informs a lot of my work.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's the quiet times. I use intuition a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't overthink my work, so I tend to just be a visual person. I'll see something and then I'll go, oh, I've got to put that in, and then I'll build a structure around it and, you know, add objects in, and then it starts to become something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not often to the end, when I'm coming to the end of the work, that I understand what it's about. And that can mean different things for different people too, not just how you see it. Someone might see a totally different thing. And that's the fascinating thing for me about still life. A lot of people go, oh, it's just a bunch of flowers in a vase, you know, and it's just decorative. But still life, you know, has a history going right back to the Vanitas in the 16th century, you know, and it's very symbolic. So, you know, it's a transitory nature of life and death, and you know, you can read all sorts of things into it, and that's what fascinates me about them the most.
That's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. We're going to regale our audience with some of your really spectacular techniques today, and your extraordinary ability. Maria's actually already started on this piece, but she's going to take us through a couple of different situations today to, you know, obviously this is about education. Where do we begin with this?
Okay, well, being a pastel, it's a very dusty medium, so it fills up the tooth of the paper. In this case, I've got a nice grainy sanded surface. It's a colour fix paper, so it holds quite a lot of depth in pastel dust. But because it's dusty, it will fall down. So I do tend to work at the top and do all my darks first.
Sure.
And then I will turn it around for different areas if I have to, for it to fall off. Selecting the colours before you start is really important, so get yourself organised. I've got lots of trays and lots of different departments for different areas I've been working on. So
I can see that in your vast collection of pastels here. I mean, you've got a couple of different brands. You've got Rembrandt and you've got Schmenke as well. It's their 120th anniversary this year.
Yeah,
it's pretty amazing.
I've got quite an old one in there, I think, from that box.
Yeah, you reckon that probably goes back to the
Yeah,
1930s?
that one. That's
How about that? That sort of may have not have been used for the last, I don't know, what's that, 70 years?
Yeah, well, that was in my 1930s box, so it's probably that old.
That's incredible, isn't it?
It's a beautiful, rich colour. But without these colours showing through, you lose that vibrancy if you just do a dull colour and then, you know, layer on top. So I want to see a bit of these purer colours.
Generally, a lot of people will paint, but they won't refer back to their subject again.
Yeah.
And as you can see, what Maria's doing is she's looking up, looking down, and continuously referring back to her subject matter instead of letting your own mind drift away, particularly with still lifes. You've got to be reasonably accurate about it.
Yeah.
So you obviously get a lot of satisfaction out of your teaching as well.
I do. Yeah, I really enjoy teaching, and I've done it for a lot of years, and you know, all different children to adults, and pastels and oils. And,
sure.
And it's, you know, it's wonderful to see what people create and what their style is, and that's part of the thing I like to do is for people to bring out their own style. You know, I don't want them to do what I do, but I'll give them tools in which they can develop their own style of work and what it is they're trying to get out. Because you have a vision, don't you? You kind of, you know what you want to do, but you know, how do I go about it and how do I do it?
Yeah, and I think it's just the simple joy of creating.
It's a meditative process, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I find that when I work personally myself sometimes, I mean, you can have 10 hours go past.
Yeah.
You won't even know that the time went past. So this is amazing.
It's wonderful like that. Now this is going to start to tie a lot of these areas together, because this little sculpture's got a lot of glassy surface. It's a very reflective surface, so there is going to be quite a lot of colours in this by the end, because a glassy surface will pick up everything around it and it will reflect in there. What's out the door, what's next to it. So you've really got to look at that and just concentrate on those smallest areas that you can.
Even looking at the horse at the moment, which is obviously what the little sculpture is, it's really looking quite abstract.
It is,
and
isn't it?
And it's the funny part about it is that a lot of people realise you've simply got to put the colour down and then really work back to where you need it to go later on, and not be afraid to do that.
Yeah, because I mean, if someone walked in now and went, "What are you doing? It doesn't look like the horse."
Yeah.
But it's all underneath, and it's all building it up. It's like you've got the skeleton, and you've got to put the flesh on. You know, it's very important to have something underneath that's dynamic. It gives it its energy, it gives it its flow, its spark.
No, just watching there, you've actually got a pencil in your hand right now.
I did.
So tell me what that's all about.
Well, this is a colour that I really want, and I don't really have it.
Oh, you did
but
that.
it's in a pencil form.
Oh, okay.
So, and because I'm doing this fine edge of the top of the mane there, and it's going to be coming off this flower, which is what I use to get these little wrinkles.
Okay, sure.
You can see all that fine detail.
Yes.
Then I'm going to use that here just across the top. And it's very good, the pencil, for getting into very tricky areas.
So it actually is a pastel pencil?
It is a pastel pencil,
there you go. Pastel pencils?
They're great.
Okay, well that looks quite unusual. It doesn't look like a pastel, I can tell you that much. What actually is that?
That's one of my little mushed up pastels. At the end you get tiny little bits of pastel that you can't hold anymore, but they're all beautiful pigments and colours. So what I do is I group them in their colour groups. In this case it was browns. I could have a little bit of red in it, and I grind it all up until it's powder, and then I'll add a little bit of water and just shape it into a mould, or just as a lump in this case, and I can reuse it.
That's great. That's really great, isn't it?
And then I've got a colour that is very neutral, because not any specific colour. So it's very handy for doing tying in works and blending in between.
Well, I was going to say what we might do, because Maria, I keep interrupting her, asking questions all the time.
I'm trying to get this
but
work.
I'm not helping her at all. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to let Maria work on this for a while, and you can watch as she goes along with it. Alright, now hang on. You've just picked up a stick. Now maybe I've been misbehaving. What are you going to use that stick for? What do you call the stick anyway?
It's a marl stick.
Is it okay?
Yeah. Now this is to help you get into the detail. Now especially with a pastel, because it's so dusty. Now can you imagine if I put my hand on there, that'd be the end of it. So what you've got to do is steady yourself. So you lean it onto the hard surface on one side. You pull back on one end, and you push forward, whereas this is where you're going to lean on this part of your hand. So what that does is allows me to steady my hand. If I go like this and I'm trying to get into a really critical line, and it has to be the exact right shape, it's going to be much more easy if I've got the edge.
So the marl stick, it's not a female stick, it's a male stick.
No, it's a male stick. So yeah, and then I can get in and I can draw some nice exacting lines that I need to do, or highlights, and it worked quite well in these areas where I had to get in and do the yellow and whites without going anywhere near these browns or blues. Because the dust does tend to travel around a bit, so it's quite tricky. So
yes, I mean I know that there are a number of artists, particularly oil painters, that will use them because you've got a lot of wet surface. And the last thing you need to do is put your hands on the paint.
And our instincts is to lean on something when we need a bit of support, so this allows me to get into areas and get around the pastel a bit better.
So Maria, you can actually start to see the horse and those colours really start to form the shape that you wanted, and really beforehand it was just sort of a hodgepodge of colours, but now it's starting to come together quite a lot.
Yeah, I'm starting to add those lighter tones and bring the colours together to shape the form. It's basically moulding the form, isn't it? It's rendering it a 3D object onto a 2D surface. It's got a lot in common with sculpture that way.
And I'm just noticing that you continuously refer. It's just great to see that you've still got your own interpretation in there, but you're continuously referring back to that object all the time.
Yeah, I need to really isolate some of these colour areas for the tone to shape the object. So I've got to get the shape of it with the highlights.
So whereabouts are you exhibiting these days, Maria?
Well, a couple of weeks ago I met up with Peter at Bangalore, and he's put a couple of things in there.
Oh, Pete Mortimer?
Yeah.
Yes, wonderful, talented man.
Yeah, he's pretty good, isn't he?
It's, they'd say you're in the Windhorse Gallery, are you?
Yep, that's it. Now I need to get back from this and have a look at it now.
It really is a fairly essential part of good work to be able to get back and assess it, isn't it?
I'm going to put a diagonal across here.
Okay, so why are you doing that?
There's a big open space here.
Yeah.
So within the structure of the work, you need to have directional lines.
Mm-hmm.
So just putting that little diagonal across this corner here brings you back into this picture.
Okay.
Okay, there's a little bit too much escaping out this side, so this blocks it. It's all rhythms, it's all pattern rhythms. You know, as your eye travels around the work, where does it go? Some people go left to right, some right to left. And as you can see, I can come around here and go into this horse sculpture.
Yeah.
And then I have this diagonal line which can bring me back in again.
All right, we're going to let Maria finish this piece off later on, mainly because she's got another really fascinating technique that she wants to show us, which is pastels and water.
Water, yes.
I haven't seen this one before,
Yeah.
but we'll let her finish this off. You'll obviously see that at the end of the show, and then we'll go on to this other technique.
Okay.
All right, viewers, Maria has set up her board for this fascinating technique that she's going to show us now. I've actually never seen this, so it's going to be quite interesting for me for a start, let alone you guys. What do we do?
Well, I hope it's as exciting as you think. It's water, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going, instead of using the pastel dry, we're
Yeah.
going to use it with water. It's as
Okay.
simple as that,
That's
because
amazing.
pastel's a pigment, and if you dissolve it, it will dissolve.
Okay.
What I will do is just start working the colours and the forms on the piece of paper. So I'm just spraying it with water, getting some water on the surface.
So how wet does it have to be?
Well, it has to be wet enough that the pastel doesn't grab and tear the paper. Okay, so the paper you would use normally for this is a heavy watercolour paper, or I'm using Colour Fix because it's got a primer over it, which is quite handy, you know,
Okay.
for not absorbing too much of the water. So it will sit on the surface. And I'm going to grab a few really strong reds at this point,
Yeah.
and I'm going to float them into this water. When I say float them, what I'm doing is I'm just touching the surface. I'm not scrubbing into it and damaging the surface. So I'm just putting colour on. Now you can see it gives you quite a nice fluid watercolour technique.
Yes. Soft, isn't it?
Very soft.
Wonderful.
And the other thing is this can be used as an underpainting.
Yeah.
So when it's dry, I can apply a lot more detail to it.
So can you, once that starts to dry off, can you re-wet that again?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Numerous times.
Wow.
Because if I hit it again, you know, and I'm going to get it starting to bounce around the canvas as well. And that's all textures that you can use later on.
And I can see what you've really done from the beginning of this is you've just really just basically mapped it out.
Yeah, I just mapped it out so I know, you know, roughly
Yeah.
where I'm going. Just getting a few patterns in at the moment.
So I've actually heard that the schminke pastels are quite soft, is that
Yeah,
correct?
they're beautiful, soft pastels.
Yeah.
And they'll come straight off your hand onto the page really easily.
Mhm.
They're quite thick. The basic aim at the moment is just to get the colour on. I'm not being exacting of anything at this moment.
But you can see
Just
that it's
creating
just
a
so,
background.
it's wonderfully subtle.
Yeah, a little bit of intermingling with different colours. And,
Mhm.
you know, 'cause I have a little bit of flower work to do at the end
Yeah.
when it dries. So you can, you know, move the colour around as well when it's this wet.
I can see you've got some paintbrushes there too.
Uh-huh.
So-
And this is, I think it's a painting medium.
It really is painting. It's like painting with watercolours, isn't it?
It can be,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it's pastels
But you
instead.
can draw in it and get some quite sharp lines as well.
Yes, yes.
Textures, you can do some lovely textures with this.
That's wonderful. I can still see with the positioning of your hand, you're obviously very, very conscious where your fingers are
Yes.
all the time. It's like you're holding a cup of
Yeah.
tea permanently.
Well, basically, yep, you've got to just hit that spot, you know.
Yeah. It really, I'm looking at it, it's very, very much like Chagall's work. The way that the soft colours are coming through and then you've got the harder outlines on the front, and I can even see an eye poking up through here as well.
Yeah, you can see that, you know, the hard edges combining with the soft edges, which is really nice feel, isn't it?
Yes, it's just wonderful.
It's loosely based on this still life, even though it's not exactly this still life.
Yeah.
It's just a reference point for me to look at.
And this is this would be one of the techniques that you would use with your students or show your students?
Yeah, everyone loves this one because you can just let go and just really get into that zone of your right brain and just create, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter so much because you know you're concentrating on what's happening on the surface here, so more so than the subject.
But I think it's just particularly for somebody that would potentially be very much a beginner. This is just something that they can play with.
It is.
Just get in touch with their creative right brain. Very important stuff.
It is very important. It's getting a bit dry here, but I'm kind of utilising that, as you can see, with the texture. I keep ground rice in the trays to clean the pastels. It's a good idea when you're doing this technique to take them out because you end up with grains of rice everywhere.
Oh, okay.
That's not what you want.
No. But I actually just noticed that. She does have ground rice grains in there too.
They get very dirty and you can't see what colour the pastels are, so your ground rice will keep them clean.
Oh, okay.
They kind of polish them all the time.
So where do you get the ground rice from?
Just supermarket.
Yeah. Okay. All right, viewers. Well, to say the least, it's been an educational day is an understatement. Maria, I'd really like to thank you very, very much for having us in your studio.
You're welcome, Graham.
And showing us your amazing techniques and ability. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here, and once again I've learnt something which always just fascinates me, it really does. If you would like to see more of Maria's work, go into the website www.colorinyourlife.com.au and you can see Maria's work and many of the other, I mean the website is just filling up massively these days. We've also got a lot of great prizes that we're giving away. You can win an original piece of artwork. So come in, put your details in. You could be part of that winning prize as we go through the series. But till we meet again, remember, make sure you put some colour in your life. Well, viewers, we've got some really exciting things coming up in the next couple of months in the art world. We've got Art Expo on in Brisbane, Sydney and Canberra, July, September and October. Now, the Brisbane one is on at the Convention Centre from the 13th to the 15th. Now, come along, there's workshops, there's seminars, you can meet the Colour in Your Life team, buy some art, learn some things, you'll have a great time. We'll see you there in Brisbane.